Hi, I'm Dylighted, and today we're going to be playing a custom match with a group of competitive players. I'm placing in the 4th position on this board where there's low ore. So let's take a look to see what I, along with what other players do. The interesting thing about low ore boards is that you want ports, so you can convert your resources to ore, since there is no ore. So ports will be very important this game. So green in the 1st position places on the 5, 6, 9. This is the highest producing spot and gives them 3 different resources. Next, orange decides to place on the 5, 8, 10, and that's 3 different resources also, with all high producing numbers. I agree with orange's thought of pointing his road to the right, to the brick port, instead of pointing his road downwards, because pointing your road downwards is actually a trap. And the reason why I think it's a trap is because the 3, 4, 8 spot is a wood and a brick, and I think there's a good chance that a second settlement will be placed on the 3, 4, 8, allowing the person to get a free road, so then they can build to the 3, 1 port. So orange decides to wisely point his road to the right, safely securing the brick port. Now, it's blue's turn, and blue decides to build on the 4, 9, 3, with his road pointed upwards, with the intention to get to either the wood port or the wheat port. Now, I think blue's play is very high risk, high reward. If no one decides to place on the 8, 3, then blue will get a very, very strong wood port, and as I said, ports are going to be very important in this game. On the other hand, if you look ahead, you can see both green and orange would sort of like the 8, 3, even though it's sort of not high producing. Hence it gives them a port, which is very important for low ore boards, and it gives them wood to pair up with the brick. I think this could either go very well for blue, or very badly. So, my turn to pick as 4th position, and I'm in a tough spot. So I want you to pause right here, and think where would you place as 4th position? So as 4th position, I quickly noticed one thing, that everyone is on a bunch of wheat. And the second thing I noticed is that blue, he is on wood, and that he would want to get on that 6 brick as much as possible. So I can effectively try to shut down blue's game by placing on the 6, 11, 3. The last thing I noticed is also that no one has staked a claim on the ore, so this ore is free for me to get. Also, since I know everyone already has wheat, then I can be relatively confident that the 5, 4, 11 won't be taken. So this lets me decide to do a risky game and try to build on that 5, 4, 11. I can't really see anyone wanting the 5, 4, 11 since it's just way too much wheat with too little ore, and that does not match the ideal ore wheat sheep ratio, so no one would want that spot. So I decide to place on the 6, 11, 3, and then the 9, 11, 10. For my 6, 11, 3, I point my road to the left so I can try to get to the 3, 1 port, and my 10, 9, 11, I decide to point my road upwards to try to get to the 5, 4, 11. I also decide to place my 11, 9, 10 second because I value the brick, sheep, and ore more than 2 bricks, since I'm on 7 points of brick and only 4 points of wood, and also only 3 points of sheep. Now, before I end my turn, I always like looking ahead and predicting where other people will place, to make sure that I won't lose my spot on the 5, 4, 11. So, if I was blue, where would I place? As blue, I would place on the 3, 4, 8, since that's a free road and that lets him get to the wood port faster. But let's take a look at 2nd position, orange. Orange, in this case, since he's on brick, he needs wood. So the last spot of wood is a 9, 6, 2. And I'm pretty sure he's going to point his road towards the coast so he can get on the 3, 1 port. Now looking at this board, as 1st position, where would you place? I think there's only one clear spot for 1st position, and that's the 8, 3. Therefore, green will cut off blue, effectively destroying blue's game twice. First of all, losing the port. Second of all, having low brick. This is going to be a tough game for blue. Now, another reason why I decided to place my settlements on the 6, 11, 3 and the 11, 10, 9 is because I'm also close enough to connect my settlements as an alternative win condition, since I can get longest road or largest army, since I have 4 points of ore. So let's see what happens with my predictions. So it's 3rd position's turn, and he decides to place on the 8, 3, 4, exactly like how I predicted. This gives him the free road, even more wheat, and 2 points of brick. Now, it's 2nd position's turn to place. Now orange can do 2 things. He can take the 8, 3, or he can take the 6, 9, 2. I think the 6, 9, 2 is a lot more effective because it's 10 points compared to the 7 points. And although ports are going to be very valuable in this game, orange's port is going to be the brick port. So orange wisely decides to place in the 6, 9, 2 and point his road towards the coast. Now we're back in 1st position, green. I think there's only one clear option for green, and that's placing on the 8, 3. So I'm starting this game with that wheat, but my first priority is going to be building on that 5, 4, 11. So the game begins and green rolls a 7 to start. So something I like to do whenever a 7 rolls at the beginning of the game is I like to see what resources everyone has based on their second settlement placement, and then track the resources to see what's the highest percentage that I get something I need. So let's say if I need wood and brick, then I'll steal from someone with wood or brick, since there's a 2/3 chance I'll get it out of the 3 starting cards they have. And green decides to place it on the 9 wood, which is pretty smart since everyone's on the 9 wood and he produces wood. So now people are going to be forced to trade since the 9 wood is blocked. And green decides to steal from me, but He thought that my second settlement placement was on the 6-11-3, so I had 2 bricks and 1 ore, and green wants brick or ore, but he realized that my second settlement placement was in the 9-10-11. So in situations like these, always communicate with your opponents to ask him which settlement did you start with, to make sure you don't make a mistake like that. So blue rolls a 5s, and he has a free road from the 3-4-8, and decides to use this free road to get on the 3-1 port, since his 8-3 is now blocked. So my turn, and I roll an 8, and I still have no cards in my hand, so I do nothing and pass. Orange rolls a 9, but the 9 wood is blocked, and orange decides to buy a development card first, and then build a road, which is the right way to do it. You always want to buy a development card first, because you want to see what options you have. It's sort of like playing card games. If you guys have ever played Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering, you always want to draw your card first, so you can see what options you have before you do anything, since this extra option might change your entire game plan. So I like what orange did of buying the development card first. So blue rolls a 7, and then he has the decision to choose who to steal from again. So something I like to do whenever a 7 rolls is I like to figure out who has 1 card and what that 1 card is. So in this case, let's look at orange. He has 1 card, and let's try to figure out what he has. So what are orange's actions so far? First of all, he decided to place on a 9-6-2. So he has 1 ore, 2 wood from that. And then orange decided to build a road. Since orange only had 1 road built, that means we can assume that 1 wood and 1 brick is taken, and since he decided to buy development card, we can assume that he used up that ore. So this lets us know that orange's last card is a wood. But since blue is on 7 points of wood, he doesn't need any more wood, so it's wise for him to not steal from orange, getting him a 100% wood, which is relatively useless for him. Instead, blue decides to place it on the 6 brick and take from green. So it's my turn, and I roll an 8, nothing happens, so I pass. Now, the same concept of stealing from the person who only has 1 card can be applied to whenever someone has 2 cards, since it's a 50% chance of you getting something you need. Orange, in this case, he has 1 wood, as we identified earlier, and he also has 1 wheat, since the 8 was just rolled. So if green needs wheat or wood, then he'd take from orange, since there's a 50% chance you get it. And green decides to place the robber on the 9 wood, which is the best spot for green, and decides to take from orange, since if he gets a wood from orange, then he can use the 2-for-1 port, and build a road, or if he gets a wheat from orange, that's also good, since a 5 hasn't been rolled yet, and he's looking for wheat. So it makes sense why he decides to steal from orange. Now orange's turn, he rolls an 8, nothing happens, he passes. Blue rolls a 4, and blue decides to do a 4-for-1 trade, getting on the 3-1 port. Now it's my turn, and that 3 rolls, giving me that road that I need. Now, my first priority is to build on that 5-4-11, because it's a high producing spot, and I need wheat to get my game started, otherwise I can't do anything. So green rolls a 6, and then gets in the brick to build on the 6-3. Now green gets coordinated resources, so whenever a 6 rolls, green has a road. Blue rolls an 11, giving me 2 ore. So on my turn, my next goal is to build on that 5-4-11, since I need wheat to get my game started. So I start off on my turn by offering a single ore for wood and a wheat. And the reason I offer this trade is, first of all, it completes my settlement. And then the second reason I offer this trade, because no one is on the ore except for me, and I just rolled an ore. So everyone's going to be wanting these cards, since on a low ore board, these are very, very rare. So I'm more confident that people are willing to do a desperate deal. But at the same time, you have to realize that I'm also equally just as desperate to build on the 5-4-11, since that's when our game starts. I can't do anything with that wheat. As the Catan rule states, no wheat equals defeat. Since 11 rolled the last turn, I have 2 ore, and a 4 just rolled. Now you have to look at what resources are in people's hand. So since a 4 just rolled, that means blue gets a wheat and a wood at the same time. And since blue doesn't have any ore, I'm willing to give him 1 ore for a wood and a wheat. But blue wisely decides to say no, since me getting at the 5-4-11 is a lot more important than a single ore for blue. So because blue just rejects my first offer, I decide to give him a better offer, giving him 2 ore for a wood and a wheat. I'm actually very desperate for this trade, since without building on the 5-4-11, I'm sort of screwed. And blue decides to say no also, so no takers on this trade. I decide to offer 1-for-1, with the thought of, since I'm on the 9 wood with 3 other people, the 9 wood shouldn't be blocked very much, since there's 3 other people, and whenever a 7 rolls, no one's going to place it on the 9 wood. So if I have everything else except for the wood, I can eventually wait for the 9, and then I can build my settlement on the 5-4-11. I get no takers except for orange, who counter offers me 2 ore, which is crazy, so I say no. I end my turn, and it's green's turn. And green rolls a 3, so it gives me another brick, and it gives green 2 sheep, blue 1 sheep. Orange rolls a 6, and I get brick. Orange and green gets wood. A 10 rolls, giving me sheep. Blue decides to build a settlement on the 4-8. Now I have a bunch of resources in hand, but I can't do anything with them yet, since I need wheat and my wood is blocked. so I offer ore for wheat, and orange decides to counter-offer me, wanting brick and ore for wheat. I say no to that deal because I need wood also to do anything with it, since I want to build my settlement as soon as possible in the 5-4-11. I offer a 2-for-2 trade, 2 ore for wood and wheat, and I get 2 counter-offers, one from blue, one from orange. Blue counter-offers me, offering wheat in return for brick and ore. Since I need wood and wheat at the same time, I say no to his deal. Orange wants a brick and 2 ore in return for wood for wheat. So I decide to give the ore and brick for wood and wheat to orange, since I really need this desperately in order to build on the 5-4-11. So I get the trade, and I build on the 5-4-11, and I end my turn. Green wants wheat, but no one trades with him, so he trades with the port, and gets a development card. A 10 is rolled, and that's another sheep. Now orange gets a settlement. Now the trade me and orange did earlier was essentially giving us both settlements. A blue's turn, and he rolls a 7. Now blue moves a robber to the 6 wood and takes from orange. Green wants wood, offering sheep, but no one trades with him, and decides to buy a development card. Now I roll a 5, giving me wheat. Now decision time. What can I do? Do I wait for a city, try to do some trades, or do I buy a development card? Well, I don't think there's wood on the board since blue tried to trade last turn for it, and no one's going to give me ore, so my only option is to buy a development card. I think now is when you have to start thinking about win conditions. So, what are my win conditions as red? Since I'm on the only ore with wheat and sheep, I think it's relatively safe to pursue largest army as my win condition. So I get a victory point, which is not a knight, which doesn't get me closer to my win condition, but it's a victory point, so I can't really complain. As a backup plan, in case my first win condition fails, I can go for longest road instead. Green has a development card, and currently the robber is on his 6 wood. So if he doesn't move the robber, that's telling me that he doesn't have a knight, or that's just a misplay, since the 6 wood is a pretty important spot to keep open. So because he doesn't move the robber before he rolls, it's telling me that green most likely does not have a knight. So it's orange's turn, and he rolls a 10. And once again, orange also doesn't play a development card, telling me that development card is not a knight. Well, orange passes, and an 8 was rolled, giving everyone resources except for me. It's my turn, and a 4 is rolled. So, knowing a 4 is rolled, I know that blue gets wood, so that gives me a potential trade opportunity, giving a 1-for-1, since the blue needs brick, since blue is on 3 tiles of wood, but 1 tile of brick, and that brick is only 2 points. So, I thought I could give him a brick, and he'd give me a wood. My next priority is to build on the 3-1 port, the 11-12. And then I can just start my ore wheat sheep game and just city up and buy development cards. R for 2 brick. Blue counter offers me 1 wood for 2 brick, but I think that's too expensive and that's helping blue a lot. Since remember, blue has low brick but lots of wood. So, getting no trades, I pass my turn. So green this turn decides to play his knight, and I don't know why he decided to hold the knight. He ends up placing it on the 8 wheat, taking from blue. Now green rolls a 7. And decides to put it on the 9 wood. And buys a development card, then places his road. Orange rolls a 7. And places on the 8 wood and takes from green. So it's orange's turn, and he wants wood for brick and sheep. No one takes his trade, and decides to do 2-for-1 with the port, and wisely trades for the rare ore on this board. With that, he buys a development card. A 6 is rolled, and blue wants my brick, offering sheep, but I counter trade him wanting wood. Blue's willing to give me wheat, so I'm willing to give him a brick and sheep for wood and wheat. I propose this trade for 2 reasons. The more simpler reason of just getting the wood, so I can build my road, and the second reason is getting a wheat. So if I get a second wheat in my hand, I just need to wait for 1-11, and then I can get a city instantly. That's why I want 2 wheat in my hand, just simply waiting for a city. Blue declines my trade, and does a 4-for-1 for a break. And blue decides to go towards the wheat port, since he's on a lot of wheat, and he knows that he needs to convert that wheat to ore or brick, so he can get longest road or get cities. So, a 7 is rolled again, and I'm forced to discard my hand. Now, as I said earlier before, whenever someone has 1 card, I always like to figure out what card they have, since I have a 100% chance of getting it. So if I need a rare resource, then I know I can get it for sure if I steal from them. So in this case, I know blue has a sheep, and I really don't need the sheep. So when I discard, I decide to discard 3 brick and 1 sheep. The reason I decide to discard 3 brick is because I can't do anything with the brick without wood. So if I have 0 wood in hand, then I'm just gonna get rid of all the useless brick. Since it's a useless card, I can't do anything with it. I kept 2 sheep since I thought the sheep was more rare for me. So I decided to block the 8 wheat, because first of all, I'm blocking 2 people, and in total there's 3 settlements on it. Second of all, I'm cutting orange's wheat source. And lastly, you always want to block the resources that you produce, so then you can get good trades for it. Since I'm on wheat, if I block the other person's wheat, then they're going to be forced to trade with me to get my wheat. So now I have a decision to choose who to steal from. Now I mentioned earlier blue has a sheep. I can either take the sheep, which I don't really need since I already have 2 of them, or I can take from orange. Another positive from taking from orange is there's a high chance I'm going to get a wood. So let's go and try to track my resources. So since I had 4 brick earlier, either 6s or 3s were rolled. So let's see what the coordinating 6s and 3s are. So it's either sheep or it's either wood. So because of this, I know that if I take from orange, there's a high chance that I'm going to get a wood. So I take from orange, I get the wood, and that's my road. And I'm going to build on the 3-1 port. Now it's green's turn, and he rolls a 7. So he places it on the 9 wood, which is an easy choice. But now he has to choose who to steal from. But if you notice, as green, you have your road pointed to the right already. That means you're in a race with orange for the 3-1 port. So he decides to steal from orange to slow him down winning the race. Green places Year of Plenty, then wins the race, getting on the 3-1 port. So normally I'd commend green for winning the race, but I think you have to be very careful with using Year of Plenties on a board like this. As green, since you're on 0 points of ore, you're going to get longest road, get 5 settlements, then be capped out at 7 points. Then you're going to be forced to use 2-for-1s for ore. If I was green in that situation, I'd probably save the Year of Plenty for rare resources, in this case, ore. Now it's orange's turn, and he plays a knight and places it on the 5 wheat, blocking green's only wheat source. Since green is now at 4 points with 2 ports, so he's getting sort of scary on this board. Blue's turn, a 6 is rolled, giving green another road. Now it's my turn, so I know that green has 3 cards in his hand, 1 brick and 2 wood. So he has essentially a road and an extra card, and that extra card is that wood. So I decided to offer a sheep for the wood to try to get off that extra card. Since he gets 2 wood and 1 brick whenever a 6 rolls, he has 1 road to use, then he has 1 wood extra to trade. Now, I end up doing a 2-for-1 trade with green, 2 sheep for 1 wood, but I'm really not sure if this is the right play. And the reason why I'm not sure this is the right play is because my sheep production isn't super duper high. And instead of being impatient and trading with green, I could have just waited for a 9 to roll, and then I could build there instead. Instead, I give green a 2-for-1. So right there, I'm not sure if that's the right play. What do you guys think? Was I too impatient, or do you think I should have done that? So I end my turn, and it's green's turn. A 5 is rolled, blocking our wheat, giving orange a free card, since he has a brick port. And green has a road, and he's deciding where to build it. So green builds 1 road, taking longest road. And I think this is the critical moment of the game. You have to look at what everyone's win condition is. How does everyone win? So I'm looking at green, and well, his win condition is to obviously take longest road, and then he has to city up. He's already fulfilled one of his win conditions of getting longest road, but now he has to upgrade, and that's where the hard part comes in. However, you have to really look at the details. So green's longest road is all along the coast, and he can't really build any more roads to lead to any settlements. He can build 1 more road on the 8 wood, but that's the longest he can extend his road. Green is capped out at 10 roads, and even if he caps out at 10 roads, 4 of those roads are going to be useless roads. Now, let's take a look at what orange can do. Orange is at 3 points, and since orange lost the race to green to that 3-1 port, orange only has 1 more settlement spot, and that potential settlement spot is that 5 brick. Now, if orange decides to go on that 5 brick, he has to spend 8 resources to get on there. He has to spend 2 roads and then 1 settlement, so that's a really expensive 4th point. Then he can decide to choose to get largest army or longest road. But to get longest road, orange has to build a bunch of innocuous roads that don't lead to anywhere, since he already got his last settlement spot. You can conclude that orange should not build at the 5 brick, and orange wisely doesn't do that. Instead, orange decides to change his win condition to getting largest army and upgrading his settlements to cities. Now, blue rolls a 7 and decides to take from orange, and he passes. I roll a 9, getting me wood, and I pass. Green rolls a 7, and decides to put it on the 9 wood, taking from orange once more. Orange rolls a 7. Now orange is blocking green on his 5 wheat, since he thinks he's the biggest threat. Effectively, once again, cutting out green's wheat supply so he can't do anything. Blue rolls a 7, and blocks a 6 wood. I roll a 7, and this is a pretty big decision. So I'm going to block one of the 8s, the 8 wheat or the 8 wood. So if I decide to block the 8 wood, I'm going to essentially be deciding to block the longest road win condition, or can decide to block the 8 wheat trying to hurt orange from his win condition of largest army. Now I want to take a look at blue's win condition options right here. So what can blue do to win? When I was playing this game, I thought blue was sort of screwed, since he's on 0 points of ore, so he can't get cities, and he's only at 2 points of brick, so it's going to be really difficult for him getting longest road. So I didn't think blue was that big of a threat. So I think green's actually sort of screwed this game, since his road limit is only capped at 10 roads. So this makes it really easy for me to take longest road. On the other hand, I still think orange still has a chance to win. His win condition is reliant on getting ore, wheat, sheep, upgrading cities, and getting knights. I decided to place the robber on the 8 wood, but that's the wrong play. And the reason why it's the wrong play, well, since I'm blocking green, who's essentially a dead player, since he can't win, since he's going to get his road limit capped, and it's going to take a really long time for him to upgrade his settlements to cities. And I'm blocking blue also, but he's on 2 other tiles of wood. I really should have placed it on the 8 wheat, effectively cutting orange's wheat supply and hurting blue, since blue's about to settle on the wheat port. During the game, I think the reason why I placed it on the 8 wood, since I knew that blue's development card wasn't a knight, and green has no development card. So if I knew if I placed it on the 8 wood, then it would stay there for a while. Comparing that to if I placed it on the 8 wheat, orange is probably going to play his knight and move it away, so the knight can only stay there for 2 turns. Then 4 is rolled, and orange buys the development card. A 6 is rolled, completing the road in my hand, and orange does a 3 for 1, getting himself on the wheat port. A 10 is rolled, giving me sheep. Now I have a decision to make. Do I build my road? And if so, where do I build my road? Well, my decision was to build a road to get on that 11-4. And I wanted to go on 11-4 for 2 reasons. First of all, it extends my road length once I connect, and second of all, it gets me more wood, and this wood is going to be used to pair with my brick to eventually get longest road. Also, since I'm on a bunch of wheat, I'm hoping once the 11 rolls, the ore is going to rain down on me. So I end my turn. A 6 is rolled, and green does a 2 for 1 with the bank, decides to build a road and a settlement. Green is at 7 points, and he looks pretty scary, but in reality, I don't think he is. He now has to try and upgrade to cities with no ore, relying on the wood ports. It's orange's turn, and he rolls an 11. This gives me 4 ore that I was looking for. A 12 is rolled, giving me a sheep that I'm looking for, and a 5 is rolled, giving my wheat that I'm looking for. Now, it's my turn. It's decision time. This turn is very important. Let's see what I decide to do on this turn, and why. I decide to do 3 for 1, 3 sheep for 1 wheat, and buying development card first. And the reason why I did this was because since I wanted to start securing my win condition of largest army and overtake orange for his win condition, I always buy development cards first, and then I decided to upgrade the 11, 9, 10. And the reason why I upgraded my 11, 9, 10 was because I wanted more sheep so I could get a better ore wheat sheep ratio. I'm upgrading my wood so I can get a better road ratio, and I'm also upgrading my ore, which is important. I decided to do this over the 5-4 because I really don't value all that wheat, since my 5 wheat is going to be blocked a lot, and I'm fine with the 4 wheat being open. And even so, 7 points of wheat is sort of excessive, and I don't really need that much. But on this turn, this is actually a mistake. I should not have bought a development card. The correct play here was actually to recognize win conditions, which is what I was saying the entire time. I first have to recognize that no matter what, orange is going to be buying a lot of development cards, since that's basically the only way he can win. Orange has 3 development cards, 1 knight played, I have 0 knights played with only 1 development card, and that's a victory point. On the other hand, remember how I said green's road has been capped at 10? What I really should do is I should upgrade the 11, 10, 9 and then hold the ore and trade the ore for wood, so I can start heading towards my win condition of getting longest road. Getting largest army right here is way too expensive, and it's hard to rely on an 11 ore to get me largest army, since 11s aren't very consistent. So, in the very end, buying that development card was a really bad play. So it's green's turn, and another 11 is rolled, giving me 5 ores. It's orange's turn, and he rolls a 2, giving him 2 ores. Orange plays his knight, and puts it on the 5 wheat, and he takes from green. Now orange uses his port, and gets a city. As 4 is rolled, giving me 1 wheat, and blue offers a trade, wanting my ore and brick, offering sheep and wheat. I decide to do that deal since it gives me a city. Blue builds a road, then a development card. Now it's my turn, and I have a decision. What do I do with these cards? Now is when you have to start looking at what is your path to victory and why. So right now I'm at 6 points. If I take longest road, that'll put me to 8 points. And if I upgrade, that'll put me to 9 points. And then my settlement spot in the 11-4 will put me to 10 points. Knowing my path to victory now, I realize that I don't really need this ore, so I'm okay to trade it. So I offer an ore to everyone, which I know everyone wants. Blue counters offers me for wood, and green counter offers me a brick. I try and see if green has a brick and wood to give me. So I decide to play my knight and take from blue, since I know that he has a wood, and that gets me to my win condition of building a settlement on the 11-4, taking road, and building cities. So I take from blue, get his road, and build a road to the 11-4. So knowing that that's my path to victory, I decide to upgrade the 6-11-3, since this helps me get my win condition of getting longest road faster. It's orange's turn, and he rolls a 6, giving me 2 brick. Blue plays a knight, blocks a 5 wheat, and takes from me, getting my ore. So looking at this situation, losing the ore doesn't really mean that much to me, since I don't need it anymore, right? But actually, I sort of really wanted that ore, so I could trade it away for good deals, since I know I'm on the only ore source, and that I can get a pretty good deal off that ore. Offer brick for wheat, since my wheat is blocked, and my next goal is to build an 11-4. I end my turn since there's nothing for me to do. Doing a 3-for-1 doesn't really make sense. I'd rather just wait. I think now is when green starts to get scary, but as soon as someone else takes longest road, green loses his win condition and can't win anymore, and I plan to do that soon. The orange trades, wanting a brick. I ask for a wood, so I can build on the 11-4. Orange wants more cards, so I'm willing to do a 2-for-1, and I'm willing to do this 2-for-1 so I can bring myself under 7 cards again. I'm also not afraid of orange, since I don't think he's that big of a threat and he's very far away from winning. Blue rolls a 10, putting me over 7 cards, and uses his port to get him a city. It's my turn, and a 7 is rolled, and I'm forced to discard. And I decide to get rid of everything except for my settlement and a brick. And the reason I do this is because my win condition now is to just build 3 roads, take longest road, and win. But first, I have to move the robber. I decide to place on the 8 wood because essentially that's an ore spot for green, since every single time in 8 rolls, green can do a 2-for-1 and get an ore. Another reason why I want to do this is because I want to stop green from building more roads, and the best way to do this is block his wood, since I'm going to take longest road from him. I have the game with just 3 roads. It's orange's turn. He rolls an 8, making me glad that I blocked the 8 wood. Orange decides to buy another development card. Blue rolls a 9, and that's wood for everyone. So blue builds 2 roads, trying to build on that 10-5. So on the surface level, blue doesn't really look that scary. He's at 6 points, but you can't forget about him. Blue only needs 1 more road to take longest road, and then he only needs 1 more settlement, putting him at 9 points. But he hasn't played that 1 development card the entire game, so it's relatively safe to assume that 1 development card is actually a victory point. So blue's only 6 cards away from winning the game. 1 road, 1 settlement. Now it's my turn. I have 2 roads. I only need 1 more road to win the game. Now I have a decision to make. Do I build my 2 roads on the upper path, or do I build my roads on the lower path? Now I decide to build my road on the upper path from the 5-4-11, since I was afraid that green might do something crazy and split my roads in half, ensuring him getting longest road. So now a 9 is rolled. I have 2 wood in hand. So now I only need a 6, 3, 11, or 9 to win me the game. So it's orange's turn. He decides to play a knight and blocks my 6 brick, since he knows that I need the 6 brick to win the game. He also takes largest army and is at 6 points with 3 hidden development cards. Orange could also be deceptively close to winning this game. Orange now rolls an 8, getting everyone wood and wheat. Orange decides to end his turn, and blue rolls a 4. And he wins the game. So, let's learn some lessons from this game. I think the first lesson we can learn is that predict where other people will place. I placed in this game with the prediction that the 5-4-11 would be open, and then to make sure of that, I pretended to place as 3rd, 2nd, and 1st position, seeing where they would go, and seeing if anyone would ever place on the 4-5-11, which they didn't. This helped me develop a strong game. The second lesson we can learn is to know your win conditions. Orange knew his win condition had to be development cards, since there's basically no chance he's going to get longest road. On the other hand, blue knew his win condition was get to the wheat port so he can convert that wheat to brick to get longest road, which he did. And green's win condition was to get longest road and use that wood port to upgrade to cities. Now let's take a look at what my win condition is, and how this applies to the third lesson, adaptation. In this game, instead of going for long road, I could have easily gone for ore, wheat, and sheep, and just said, screw all road building. But halfway through the game, I recognized that orange is way too ahead of me and knights, and I decided to say screw largest army and go for longest road, resulting in me being one road away from winning. A tip in Catan in general is you always have to know what you have to do to win. If you don't know what your path to victory is, then you're not going to win. At the end of a lot of my videos, I say I love discussion, but what I've realized is that the YouTube comments isn't the best place to talk about Catan strategy. So I decided to create a place where we can talk about Catan strategy. In the Dylighted Catan Discord, you can talk strategy, talk settlement placements, or potentially arrange games with me and other people. Now, if you don't know what Discord is, it's essentially an organized group chat with voice calling involved. I hope to see you there. I'm Dylighted, and I hope you learned something.